Toiber, and like your camera should be on since it is your pitch, really, and you're getting.
I didn't hear that.
No, same. I didn't hear.
Leah's having a few connection issues, so we're going to leave hers off, but we have yours on, please.
Okay.
Thank you. Right, okay. I take it we're recording. So this is the feedback for Toiber, Luke and Sabaya for their T radio pitch. Okay, so just a little bit of an overview. Luke, I was concerned that you weren't going to contribute past the criteria of how long the pitch should be. You hadn't really said anything, and then right at the end you said a bit more of a substantial. Just make sure that you have your input throughout a pitch.
Okay.
And the end. Okay. What you did say was good, but we just wanted more of it. Sabaya and Toiber, really good. Okay, in content. I felt though at times. Sorry, 1 second. Right, sorry about that. Right, I felt at one point there was just a lot of information about a lot of different parts of the show, and that it just felt like you were putting just everything in and covering different bits and referring back to other bits. So it was hard to keep a handle on what the idea was until you did the running order, and then it kind of really came into play, and it was a nice logical order, and it kind of made all fit together and made a lot more sense. So just be careful on how you present your information. Now I'm just going to hand over to the observers, and I've got a couple of bits to say at the end. So questions and observations, please. Amari, do you want to start?
Yeah, I have a lot of feedback, but questions. What's your secondary audience, like target audience? Because you only talk about your primary audience. Don't really talk about your secondary audience. So what's your secondary audience target?
The secondary audience are people over the age of 25.
So they might either be working or in some kind of higher education.
Okay, all right.
I think that's a very good question, and I think you have to treat them as two distinct groups, because mature students are going to be different kind of cohort, different target audience, and maybe the teachers. So when you are talking and justifying your points, do talk about them both as secondary target audience, but as two different groups, because they're going to have two different needs and two different kind of requirements.
Oh, yeah, I got one more question as well. You guys have a lot of serious like content in your radio, innit? Do you guys think that's gonna make the younger like generation like stay entertained in the radio show?
I mean,
Yeah.
Do you want to finish, Toiber?
Because I feel like people who get sexually abused, young people don't really realize it, because no one really tells them, no one believes what they say because they're young. It could be their own family members that do stuff to them, but they don't realize that it's wrong. So I feel like this could give more of an insight to it, and I feel like people try to push away the topic because they don't want to talk about it. It's like a sensitive topic, and yeah, so I feel like it's a good way to bring insight to the thing.
And also adding to what Toiber said, I think because we're talking about, like I said, because it's quite heavy, the content, having music and having idents would help, and question of the day would help spread everything out instead of being it all together, because that's when the audience would start losing interest into our radio show. So that's why we decided to split it up and have breaks between.
That's very logical. I think that's good. So you've tried to break it up. So those bits that are like today, And the bit about music has to be really upbeat and really fun to balance the much more serious things that
That's what I was thinking, because there's just so many serious content. That's why I was just thinking, oh, maybe you could add a bit more like fun content, or like just content other than just
Yeah.
serious content in it.
and
'Cause like you
maybe make it a bit shorter. So
Yeah, because it's just a lot.
you get the point across.
Yeah. We also have question of the day as well. So that would be quite interesting for the audience.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to say, in terms of Amari being your guest expert on the sports section, but then he's also your person who calls in. Is that right? For another feature.
No, I think he's just going to do the one thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
one of the slides, it sounded like he was going to be in
Oh
two.
no, I think
No.
it's because we said we're going to mix in the sports with the mental health. Like we're going to link the questions together.
Okay, right, yeah, I think that's a good idea to have that overlap. I was just wondering about the order that you might want to do. I think which is going first, that you were going to do the mental health first and then do the sports, or you were going to do the sports and then the mental health.
Yeah,
Is that right?
sports, mental health, and then
I think it might be worth doing the other way, because if you set up the whole mental health issue, that okay, this is an issue and this is what it means, this is what it's about, then it's almost like the sports bit is a solution. It's like, okay, if you are experiencing this, one of the things you can do is use sports, and then give a section about it. So it might be better to kind of lead on. You could even say, I know you're using a track to break it up, but at the end of the mental health bit, just say, and for advice about how to combat this, stay tuned. After this track, we've got a whole feature on how sports can help you. So it could lead on. It might be better to reorder your running order in that sense. Okay, in terms of Rebecca, your question.
What are the psychographic stories for both primary and secondary audience?
Tony, do you want to answer that? Because
Wait, I didn't hear what she said.
Rebecca said, what was your psychographic definition for target audience?
it was,
I think,
wasn't it the Gen Z?
yeah, but that's not the cycle.
It's like explorer, struggler, it's reformer.
Our secondary audience was strugglers, but
Yeah.
I forgot what it's called, but the bottom one where they're like more into social awareness and stuff. That was our primary audience.
Okay, so make sure you're clear on what the terminology is in your target audience profile sheet, and when you are discussing it and justifying it, and make sure you're clear on what that means. The fact that they are, did you say social reformer you were going for?
Yeah, and struggler.
And struggler. I'd question struggler. I'd say you're right with reformer, because a lot of people, research shows that a lot of young people are thinking about big social issues, that are wanting to make a difference, and that's what reformers are about. And dealing with a kind of mental health issues and dealing with being proactive, that ties very much into that target audience. But I question struggler.
I feel like
it was about the bad habits that the older generations might have. Like, I'm pretty sure on the table that it talked about them having like bad drinking habits, and that could be linked in with like depression and mental health and stuff.
Yeah,
so I
and
feel like
during the
that
pandemic.
topic.
Is that the case for young people?
With young people, I feel like because they might be at home and because they're doing nothing, they might go into depression. They might be doing self-harm or going, or just stuff like that. So that's why we link it like that.
Yeah,
we'll discuss that further and we'll clarify. I'm just conscious in terms of time, but yeah, I do want to discuss that with you as a group, and we can kind of tackle that. But I can see the point that you're making. Who else? Lewis, one question from you. and then we'll conclude.
Well, technically, I did have a question like saying, why didn't Luke say too much in the pitch? But now I think I'm going to ask a different question. Like, do you have any specific kind of songs that you want to actually include in your radio show? Like,
So,
these-
yeah, Lewis. So we did have a few music that we did want to add, but obviously because it's 3 teams, we wouldn't be able to play it. But Luke has selected to do some music about mental health. Luke, do you want to expand your answer on that?
Yeah, I found songs that link in with mental health, so songs that can help people. So say if they're going through something, it could be like a relationship with a family member ending, a friendship ending, any sort of relationship basically ending. They could use music to help.
Are these melancholy songs about how difficult it is when that happens, or are these upbeat songs that are, you know,
They're more downbeat.
Yeah, you might want to be careful of that. It might encourage a more sorrowful.
We have some upbeat songs as well. So
yeah, maybe consider Bob Marley and the Wailers. Like every little thing is going to be all right. Something reassuring, maybe something like that for a younger generation. You know, like you know the track Three Little Birds. It's timeless, but you know, or something that is going to be a younger generation type song. You know, because we want to cheer everyone up and give them a little bit of an upbeat rather than, you know, make them, make it more difficult. Okay, thank you very much. Well answered, Luke. What I'd really like to do, because we are really pushing it on time now, could I just please ask Rebecca and Amari and Lewis just to put a few notes in an email, because I know there's more things that I'd like you to feedback on. Your overall impression of the presentation, strengths and weaknesses, and a couple of other questions or recommendations that you would pose for the group. If you could put that in an email and send it to them, then they can utilize that. Okay, because I want to speak to the whole class. So thank you very much. If you can stop the recording there, and then obviously add that alongside your presentation pitch recording, please.